any sense of self-worth or value.
So I've actually noticed a trend with that. So not even just with myself, but other people is in the beginning, it's like fun. You're like, oh my gosh, I have all these dates. I'm meeting these people. Yay, this is so much fun. And it's the game. And then it's like reality starts to hit and you're like, you're having the same conversations. What are your hobbies? Oh my gosh, I hated that question so freaking much by the end. What are your hobbies? What do you do? You know, what?
Don't you list that anyway?
Yeah. Nobody
sometimes
reads.
Sometimes no. It depends on the app and the person.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it wouldn't matter because they still ask the same questions. And so then you get that and then you start to get complacent and then you get ghosted because it doesn't matter. You think that you're having good conversations and you're having fun, playful banter or whatever. And then all of a sudden they're just gone.
I get it.
Yeah. So this is the side of the positive side, I guess, say the positives and then sort of focus on where it can really be challenging. Since this is a mental health podcast, where it can challenge mental health. So the positive side is that there are a lot of people who aren't necessarily super social or outgoing, or they don't know where to meet people. And there might be someone out there that is a truly good fit for them. But without a platform for lots of people to meet in one place, they would not cross paths with that individual. Mm-hmm. And so from that perspective, I think they offer a high degree of utility, potentially.
Yes.
But that's, I think, about the most that you can say positively about the dating app world. And the rest is overwhelmingly negative, I think. Because of what it does. So I think I've talked to Jake about this before, but and I could be completely wrong about this because I do finance for a living, not behavioral health. But
don't give us too much credit.
Yeah,
it's okay. I'll just judge you a little.
My perspective of communication is that when it first began, whenever and wherever it began, it started with body language. And that's why an overwhelming or the majority of our communication is body language interpretation. That's probably why this conversation will be better since we can see each other via video than had I kept my screen still. Because you can't, those social cues that you read from someone and interpret, eyebrow lifts and, tossing your hair and getting nervous, blushing, the simple act of blushing, all of those things mean a lot of things. And so
the energy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so when communication began before we had language, assuming that we didn't have language, you had body language. And so you were able to understand a lot about the other person that you're engaging with communication without speaking to them. But there's a whole lot missing from that. And so then we invented the spoken language, right? And we all agreed that the sound that we made from the hole in our face was a tree and tree meant that thing. And we all agreed, and it works up to about 97 to 99% of what we're trying to communicate. But how do I communicate that tree is going to fall to a guy that's 1,000 yards away? Or how do I communicate that there's an invader coming to my friend 100 miles away? Well, you need the written word. And so we invented that. And so, but the written word is just text that fills in this tiny, tiny, tiny gap that supports all of this visual and audio context of communication. And I think communication is best when it starts with body language and then spoken word tone and then the written language. And what apps have done is they've taken the smallest form of communication and made that the primary way of communicating with people. It has also made it an open marketplace that quantifies people instead of qualifying them as people with characteristics. It dehumanizes.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like when you spoke about ghosting. So it turns, like, I guess I think historically up to the point of dating apps, the way you met people was, at least it has been for me, you were in a room with someone, you thought they were cute, or they thought you were cute. Somehow you figured out how to make your paths cross, and then you explored past the visual attraction to see if there's anything there that you connected to. And if you did, and it was mutual, then you engaged and pursued until it didn't work anymore. And so you'd go like 2 people would meet, and that was sort of like one-on-one. It would be that until it didn't work, it broke, and then on to the next. But the dating app world is a numbers game where it's everyone's taking a shot, and there's so many people connecting to so many people that you sort of like, it's sort of like chum in the water when you go fishing. Like you throw out a lot of bait and a lot of hooks and you hope that something hits. And sometimes you can throw out, because you're like ripping through, you see so many people on it's essentially a visual menu. And you're going, oh, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. I might like that. And so you check a box, swipe right, make a comment, whatever the thing might be. But you don't know that they're necessarily going to even see your profile. So if you go, oh, that person looks really interesting, I'm going to sit and wait and see if they think I'm interesting. You may never have an opportunity to communicate with them or pursue them because the algorithms don't necessarily cross your paths the way that you would cross paths with someone in their physical space, where you go, oh, I'm interested in that. I'm going to go pursue that or do something to get them to pursue me, whether it's make a show or make myself marketable or interesting or whatever the thing is that you're doing. And so it turns into this numbers game where you're just throwing out as much interest as possible, hoping that someone else is also mutually interested in you.
So that's different for women, though, because we don't have to wait. So where you guys might get like 5 matches or 5 people to come up, we're going to get like 200. And it seriously, because what I've noticed even by the males that I have talked to is like, they won't even like, not always, as generally speaking, a lot of them told me that they'll just say yes on all of them.
I've heard that. I think that's a horrible thing.
It is. And so then as a woman, like going through, you get a lot of matches just being a woman in general.
Yeah. And
that's one of the things that I always tell my people too, is know what you're going in for. Know what you want. Now, I'm not talking about a list. You have to, make this a year. You have to do this. You have to do this. You're limiting yourself. You're dehumanizing the person. What are the qualities that you want? What are you looking for? Do you want something long-term? Do you want something, casual? Do you want somebody with kids, without kids, that, is family oriented, or, look for qualities that are important to you. And so when these situations happen, you get matched with somebody, you want different things. Maybe somebody, wants to have kids and somebody doesn't. That's that's a huge thing. And it doesn't mean that it's against your self-worth. It means that is somebody who is just at a different place than you are, and finding somebody who is at the same place.
I want to ask about this roboticized machination that Adam described, and you assented. You didn't disagree. You said it was, it's different for women because the volume is so much greater. But both point to this, which is there a desensitization that goes on?
Oh, yeah. When you start talking and having a conversation, it's possible that humanizing comes back. But even then, it takes time. So, like, I have a boyfriend now.
Oh, nice.
So
we're all learning new things.
Hey. But like in the beginning, they're all the same. What are your hobbies? Blah, blah, blah. The reason he interested in me, because it wasn't like that at all.
Wow.
So it catches your interest of like, oh, wait, this isn't the same freaking conversation I've been having for 2 years. That's amazing. And then you start to get asked questions, and then you start to get to know each other more. And then maybe you switch to Facebook Messenger or texting if you feel comfortable, or Snapchat, or whatever other social media thing there is.
Did you get desensitized, Adam?
Hugely so. And I think so there's that, right? There's the stale conversations. There's the, oh, you're physically attractive, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a stale individual. It just means that the conversation didn't take off.
Yep.
Which is unfortunate, because the perfect person for you could be that person that you're like, well, that was a boring conversation, unmatch, or you don't unmatch, but you just sort of like let it linger and hang there. And, one of the challenges is because it is a numbers game, you have to assume that multiple people are talking to multiple people. And you can't really juggle. I mean, you can juggle multiple conversations, but you can't juggle multiple romantic relationships. I think.
Even the conversation, multiple conversations are hard.
Well, it's like, well, did I already share this with a person?
Yep.
And so this is where ghosting comes in, and the dehumanizing effect that it has on people is you can, let's say you connect with someone and all of a sudden you have hope, right? Like, oh, I hope this works out. That's why I swiped right on them or connected with them in the first place. And then they could be the guy who swipes right on everybody and then decides whether or not they're going to stay matched with them. And like how demeaning or how demoralizing is it to someone who connects with someone that they have hope to pursue, only to be dropped within minutes or seconds, because of someone else's pattern of connectivity or how they approach this app. And like, you know, how many people like dream of dating above their level, right? Like, every nerd out there hopes to date the supermodel or the cheerleader or whatever it is like that. And so like, how demoralizing would it be to be like, oh man, I'm really interested in that person. Well, kind of like college, like I'm going to apply to Harvard. Don't think I'm going to get in. My safety school is UNR or whatever it is. And so all of a sudden you get into Harvard and you're like, whoa, this person really, like, this person's beautiful and they're interesting and great. And then they're gone. And like that chips away at you know, at your soul, your heart, your self-worth. And then you get into the conversation side of it. And because it's not you don't connect to the person via the app as if they were a true person. They're just they're just a name on a screen with a face, and you're chatting, but it's not much more than like, is it a chat bot or a real person? Is it a customer service chat line or an individual? You don't think of them in the full context of them being a person. And you also have no idea what's going on in their life. So you could have a good conversation that just dies and you get ghosted. Not because they're ghosting you, but because they lost their phone. And they dropped it in the water. Or something tragic happened in their life. Or they just got sick of it and they were overwhelmed because they dipped their toes into the pool and every fish swam up to them. And then they're like, whoa, this is too much. And they deleted the app but didn't delete their profile.
Yeah, and we take it personally.
You don't know.
Yep.
And so then your mind has to fill in these gaps, which is a dangerous thing for the mind to do because, you know, I think as part of our safety mechanism, we're wired to often assume the worst as a protection and safety mechanism. And
that's assuming you're healthy too. I mean, there's a lot of people who are lacking in self-efficacy and self-worth and are, you know, pretty insecure. And so imagine the recipient being, you know, holding those qualities and then getting, you know, ghosted.
Well, but that's so one of those things too, especially with the mental health part of it, is all of these things will pile. So all of these people, maybe they were uninterested, unmatched, whatever, where then you get these people who are so reactive to anything, where I've been yelled at and screamed at over well, you didn't get back to me in 2 days, where it was like an hour. And I'm like, who are you? No, I work. Like, I'm not going to be on my phone all day. Like, what is happening?
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
It really is like, it's the keyboard warrior, but in a much more, I guess, stakes are higher, a more significant interaction, because you're talking about human relationships and, you know, potential romantic considerations as opposed to opinions on politics, which you see on like Twitter. But it's fascinating to hear that the exchanges are the same. It's like we've become disposable.
Well, and it's in a lot of times what gets forgotten too is the woman aspect of, we have to be worried about our safety. Yeah. So when guys are like, oh, well, let's just go meet right now. Well, no, I had a tracker on my phone. My friends knew where I was going. I would send pictures of who I was with. I would give an address. I would have to check in with them when I got back. Like, these are precautions just for a regular date. And so when somebody, oh gosh, I would get it a lot too. Of, hey, can I come over? No, I don't know you. And my children are here. Oh, well, I'll come when they go to sleep. No, you will not.
Is this a new thing? Were we doing this? Because we're all the same age, you know, give or take, right? A couple years.
I mean,
difference.
I'm younger than you, but.
Yeah, and better looking. but when we were in college, this didn't exist.
Women did that.
So did you, we didn't have phone trackers either. So like,
we didn't have phone trackers.
Did you still plan ahead back then?
So when we would go out to a bar and one of the ladies was going to go home with a guy, I literally, because I was the loud one, I literally took a picture of their license. before I would let him go.
That's